Terrific. Thank you all so much. Today is Thursday, September 14th, and we are convening the county's Health and Human Services Committee. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues this morning, and we are excited to get an update on the Office of Food Systems Resilience. This is and still is one of my proudest legislative accomplishments in my first term, is working with my colleagues to establish this extraordinary effort in office. And so we look forward to getting an update on where things currently stand. I'll turn it over to Ms. Clemens Johnson to walk us through the packet, and then turn it over to Ms. Bruskin and her team to walk us through the presentation.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Just a few highlights from the packet is this will be the first meeting, one of the first meetings of the OFSR with the establishment of the office a little over a year ago in July 2022. The approved FY24 budget is $1.1 million. We do have the office fully staffed here, their mighty team of three. They were fully staffed as of last month, so I know they are getting on board and eager to start their work. The department was asked to provide updates on 3 items and other things that they wanted to highlight. The first being the county strategic plan to achieve food security. So the original plan was launched in 2017 in coordination with the Food Council, which is our great partner in this work, and other community collaborators. So the end of that 5-year cycle was 2022. So the OFSR will be taking lead, and they will highlight their work towards getting that started back up. Also going through the budget is talking about their use of funds for the data collection, and also any ongoing planning updates that they can provide on the food staples program. In light of the food staples program, we have Patrick Campbell here with us from DHHS, and he's here to answer any general questions regarding the food staples program. The county executive's office has shared that they will be sending a special appropriation request in the upcoming weeks for the council to consider. So at that time, we will schedule a HHS work session to discuss the specifics of the programs like expenditures. Just as a reminder, the FY24 approved budget for the food staples program was $6.45 million in ARPA funding. So we will see the amount of the appropriation that comes over. And I also want to note that this work session is focused on the regulatory and operational framework of the OFSR and the work that they're doing. But I did want to highlight the release of the strategic plan to end childhood hunger that occurred last week. There is a joint committee session scheduled for October 19th, I believe in the morning, talking about that plan and school lunch. And with that, I enter my remarks.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. We incredibly appreciate the leadership of Councilmember Albornoz and the entire HHS committee for the chance to continue in this important work together, and special appreciation to Ms. Clemens Johnson as well for all of her partnership as we launch this incredibly important effort. So our office has been officially at work for 7 months now since I joined the county government in February of this year. And the OFSR is really a mission-driven entity to guide the activation of systems change levers that are unique to local government to strengthen our community today, but even more importantly, to make us stronger for future challenges. But before we get into the details of the work that we have ahead of us in the coming year, I'm excited to highlight our 2 new staff members who just joined last month. And so I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves before we begin. Juan?
Hello, how are you doing, Council? My name is Juan Cruz. I am the Performance Management and Data Analyst with the Office of Food Systems Resilience. Before coming to the county, I'm on my 3rd week, but before coming to the county, I was in DC government and DC police working on strategic data projects, interagency collaborations, and also a bit of business intelligence data science. And so bring those skill sets here to make sure that we are able to integrate all these different data sets to understand our food systems.
And my name is Catherine Nardi. I'm a program manager with the Office of Food Systems Resilience. I have a background in food systems work locally and regionally in positions with the Montgomery County Food Council, DC Central Kitchen, and Alliance for a Healthier Generation, and will be leveraging that expertise in this role to help implement programs and initiatives informed by county voices, community partners, and best practices and models from across the country.
Dream team. Nice.
Well, this is one way to start in your first couple of weeks, and we're really thrilled to have their expertise and insight on the team. So, as you all know, the OFSR was created in June of last year by council action at the request of county government, implementing the recommendations of the Food Security Task Force, which led the food security response during the pandemic. And one of the greatest findings of the Food Security Task Force his work was how there are tools that only local government can access, and that's particularly valuable during emergency. And there needed to be stronger infrastructure within government to coordinate initiatives specifically through a food lens, recognizing that food touches every single resident's lives, hopefully multiple times every single day. And similarly, it's embedded in the work of all of our county's agency in one way or another. The legislative mandates of the OFSR are robust and extensive. I've outlined them here just to recap how this connects with the various strategic initiatives that we'll be undertaking in the coming year. And it informs both our strategic priorities as well as our staffing strategies to ensure that we cover all of these priorities as effectively and efficiently as possible. So we've identified 4 core values that guide and inform our work, everything from priority setting to strategies for pursuing those priorities and how we evaluate our impact. If an initiative doesn't align with these priorities and these principles, then it may not necessarily be a good fit for OFSR support. However, it still may be critically important for the county government to pursue, just potentially under the leadership of other agencies. And there are many tools that are available to us and local government that are key levers for systems change, which is really what we are ultimately pursuing. So one of the top ones that comes to mind, obviously, is Big P policy. So those are legislative and formal actions by the executive, by council, the planning board, the school board, as well as advocacy strategies to state and federal legislators. But equally important, if not more important, is the impact and the effectiveness of implementation of these policies that are created. Because as we can see, that policies are a critical place to start, but we have to make sure that they're achieving the impact that was designed when they were created. Similarly, taking a look at investment. And so that includes everything from actual funds. So that can be grants, contracts on how we spend dollars directly in food purchasing and food service facilities and food distribution.
So, as you can see here, in the next few months, the OFSR will set up mechanisms to communicate and hear from county residents and partners. We want to establish an ongoing conversation with our community. We want that conversation to inform our work and establish a network of practice with our partners, with the community members and residents. We are particularly excited to create a platform for our community partners to be able to report on their excellent work and obtain longitudinal metrics and data from our food assistance providers as well.
In addition to the existing recurring meeting opportunities that we have established on a weekly or monthly basis with partners like HHS and the Office of Agriculture, we'll also be convening 3 work groups to build connectivity across sectors and agencies that are active within our local food system. This will include one work group comprised of county agency leadership representing DEP, the Office of Agriculture, HHS, and other internal departments that are critical to inform our policy and investment strategies to build resiliency within our food system. Another work group will include staff members from these same agencies that work more closely on a day-to-day basis with residents, nonprofit partners, and food producers, as these folks are the best eyes and ears that we have for what and where the needs are within the community. We'll also be working with HHS to convene contract monitors and other staff members in various departments to enhance collaboration and consistency across programs.
And thinking about specific policy opportunities, we outlined earlier what our overall goals are for creating system change, but how does that translate into actual policies? And so some of the early initiatives that we'll undertake, including exploring nationally recognized models for exploring how our food procurement policies align with our values, everything from labor to the impact on our natural resources and our economy. So that is the Good Food Purchasing Program, and we're exploring in partnership with the Department of Environmental Protection, how we could conduct an analysis of food service initiatives that are not necessarily operated by the county, but operated on behalf of the county. Somewhere within the government. Similarly, we're looking at how our practices in our own workspaces align with our values related to sustainability and our goals for expanding organics recycling and composting food waste. And so finding ways to work with the Department of General Services to bring those opportunities to our workforce spaces across county government. And then finally, really looking at ways that we can increase access to capital for new and growing food and beverage businesses. That includes farms, with a special focus on those businesses that are operated by residents who have been historically disadvantaged or disenfranchised by existing business support services, as specifically related to food. And so there are some really interesting models that are present in the region and nationally that we hope to be able to replicate here locally.
So as we look at the next year and beyond, we want to align our data priorities towards improving the visibility of the food system in the county. We want our residents to have a clear sense and picture of the health of our food system, and also where to get assistance and help and the options that they have from the investments. To that end, we're collating multiple data sets to understand the impact of the county services and harnessing data from partners and government agencies to communicate the health of our food system across the county. We also understand that the community feedback is most important, so for that we want to collaborate to create mechanisms to obtain representative community feedback on a consistent basis to inform our work. This means not just a single survey, but make it part of our work and be a consistent thing every year.
Our team has already begun to have conversations with the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security to start developing an emergency food response plan that will serve as the guidebook detailing the processes for activating county and community-based food system resources in the case of an emergency. The 3 strategic work groups that I previously mentioned will also help to inform these plans. We supported the development of a resilience planning guide for local governments in partnership with the Johns Hopkins Center for a Livable Future, and we will be using this guide to inform these efforts as well, as we know that this has been instrumental to other regional governments in developing similar response plans. Our goal is that by the end of 2024, our community partners will have the knowledge and confidence to sufficiently prepare for any type of event that could trigger a food system crisis, and respond efficiently and effectively if and when that time comes.
So we all know how critically reliant we were in an emergency on federal and state sources of funding support. And I think we know that the success of these initiatives that we are working on can't be depending solely on county levels of funding. So there are some significant resources that are coming available at the state and the federal level to support food systems work specifically. And so we're working with the Office of Grants Management to establish pathways for partnering with the community on developing incoming grant opportunities for everything from planning projects to direct service initiatives. And we're also working with the Office of Grants Management on ways to more effectively and intentionally leverage the growing capacity of county government to partner with the community through grants mechanisms to support their direct work and invest in their expertise leading service delivery in trusted spaces in the community. And so looking ahead, exploring innovative ideas, I think we all know that there's also no shortage of creative, exciting ideas out there for how we can pursue our policy priority goals. And so we will continue to pay close attention and conduct extensive research on best practices regionally and nationally that we can model here, as well as make sure that we're listening directly here in the community about ideas that are generated locally for new strategies to pursue. And so we look forward to continuing this work well into the future. And so we've listed just some of the ideas that have come up for exploration in 2024 and beyond, but I'm sure there's more to come as well. And so, revisiting this roadmap for a moment, just to illustrate how we've outlined briefly all of these strategies. Of course, welcome opportunity to share details and discuss further following the presentation. But also, I think it's important to note how they may have slightly staggered starts, but for the most part, once things start, they will continue or lead into other initiatives as well. And we have really strived to cultivate a balance between the different aspects of work between collaboration, investment, policy, and data. So I'd like to take just a brief moment to talk a little bit more in detail about the food security funding landscape and what we anticipate our work will look like in this space in the coming year. So as was already summarized in the FY24 budget, Council included $6.45 million in ARPA funds specifically for the Staples program, which has been activated through partnerships and contracts with the Capital Area Food Bank and Manna Food Center to redistribute those funds through allocations for purchasing power to over 60 organizations to allow them to continue their level of services, hopefully as close to as possible at FY23 funding levels. In order to do that, the funds will need to be spent down at a higher rate than $6.45 million will last. So the intention is at the current rate of spending that will carry forward through the end of this calendar year. And then, of course, that's supplemented by individual contracts with organizations through base budget funding to provide a wide variety of other food security programs as well. But that means that there will need to be discussions about what the second half of FY24 looks like in terms of the funding landscape for our partners. So quarter 3 and quarter 4 of FY24 will feature a spend down of any remaining Staples funds that were not spent down by partners in the first half of the year. Continuation of those individual contracts, which for the most part are on the fiscal year, although some of them are on slightly different contract cycles. And then we move into the space with new considerations of funding requests. The first being the Childhood Hunger Plan work session, which will look at those 14 recommendations of the plan, and then following that up with a special appropriation request from the county executive. Thinking about what the really goals will be of new funding requests and how we evolve this work into the future is really looking at how we can increase transparency, equity, and inclusivity in this work, refine the programs that exist, evolve them to align with the current landscape, recognizing that a lot of our COVID era programs are critically important well past the pandemic, but they need to be adapted to catch up with what the overall scape of partners and resources looks like. And then we also need to make sure that we're identifying and closing service gaps and funding gaps as well. And then for our FY25 food security planning goals, it is really multifold. We'll begin to formalize and implement long-term funding strategies in FY25 when we'll begin to make more permanent some of the new processes and applying new structures with a focus on data collection being standardized as a component of partnerships, service-based partnership funding to organizations, but also strengthening the capacity of our community, providing technical assistance where needed because our infrastructure is also critically important, and how we can strengthen the pipeline to make sure we're maximizing federal dollars, not just through SNAP and WIC and nutrition assistance programs, but income assistance programs more holistically. And so FY25 will be when a lot of the transitions between HHS and OFSR will be activated. And so we're still actively in conversations about what that will look like because we want to make sure that we are not siloing food-based work while we're also creating space to foster creativity and other mechanisms that may be mostly a good fit within the OFSR specifically. And we want to make sure that we're aligning resources with strategy and capacity, and that requires taking a step back, and that will probably be an iterative process over a number of budget cycles, recognizing that there will continue to be shifts in this space, but that as federal and state dollars are continuing to scale back, that impacts not just our residents, but also our county government. And so we will be working to see how we can stretch those dollars that are invested in food assistance work to have multiple values to support our local economy wherever possible and to maximize federal dollars as well.
So along with standardizing our data collection and better use of our collaboration with our data partners, we also are using our landscape analysis to aggregate a wide variety of data sets to understand the state of our food system. We will continue the county's effort to bring data together from benefits, food productions, climate, service, and the local food economy. In addition, we want to include primary sources of data to our analysis from our providers and community partners. Adding data from all the entities and partners involved in our food system will increase our efforts toward inclusivity and equity in our county system.
Our work is largely informed by our participation in a variety of local, state, and regional committees and coalitions, and includes over 150 partnerships that we have engaged over the past 6 months. At the local level, we are engaged in discussions led by nonprofit partners, Montgomery County Public Schools, DEP, and other county agencies, and we intentionally connect with residents at community events and site visits where we can learn more about the experiences that our neighbors are having interacting with different aspects of the local food system. At the state level, Heather serves as the co-chair of the Maryland Food System Resiliency Council, and we participate on all 3 of the subcommittees. We also engage with other state departments, state advocacy groups, and organizing bodies like the Maryland Food Access Network to ensure that resources and policies at the state level are leveraged locally. In terms of regional engagement, we're involved with the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments Farm Committee, which offers regional direction and coordination of resilience efforts. We also participate on the National Capital Region's Geospatial Data Exchange Work Group that informs our data landscape and enhances our understanding of the distribution and concentration of regional food resources. We're involved with the Regional Food Policy Council Community of Practice that allows sharing of best practices across neighboring jurisdictions, and this, of course, is linked to building our own resilience and innovation efforts.
So as you can see here, there's no shortage of creative ideas and important opportunities. But what our office is focused on in the next year is making sure that we identify discrete, actionable strategies that are achievable and can be connected with available resources to make as significant an impact as possible, as quickly as possible, while also keeping doors open for the long-term success of this work. We're really excited for the chance to partner with partners across county government in success of this work, and happy to answer any questions that you might have or provide further detail on any of the items that we've shared today.
Thank you. I've got a few, and then colleagues just let me know and just whisper in my ear because we don't need to hit the button. So impressive presentation. You're hitting the ground running. You've got a great team in place. I'm very impressed. I did have a couple of just internal systemic questions. So data is everywhere, all around us, that will benefit your all's work. And sometimes we don't have access to that data, even from sister county agencies. I've lived this life for a long time, and I know, in the out-of-school time space, even when it was pretty obvious we would all benefit from having shared data and information, it was tough for legitimate reasons, legal, confidentiality issues, etc. But could you talk to us a little bit more specifically in your first year at how you're going to take MCPS as an example, or work with them to be able to collaborate to help inform your work and you inform theirs?
Thank you for that question, and I think that really gets to the heart of a lot of the challenges that this work is centered around, that food is embedded in every aspect of what the county does and the work of our community partners as well, but it's also very decentralized. And so a lot of our work is really focused on, first, how can we understand the landscape that we're operating within? And so that's, as Juan shared, the early months of the data work will be brainstorming with every possible partner what are the information sources that you can identify, and that's both to help us define the issues that we're working on. So what is the current scope of food production? What is the level of food insecurity in our community, of which there's currently no local level measure, but also understanding what's the extent of the services that are being provided to address and mitigate those issues. So those are primarily the two buckets. And once we have a sense of the data that's available, we can really start to refine that to identify which help us understand and measure the impact of what we're doing locally. There's a lot of metrics that are helpful to know, but don't actually reflect the impact of the changes that we would affect at a local level. So we will, and in our experience, really pulling together partners and brainstorming is a great way to build those relationships and those two-way feedback loops. We've had lots of conversations with most of the agencies in county government at this point, and showing that our office is really here to be a partner and help build on the important work that they're doing. And data helps us communicate where resources are needed. And I've been overwhelmed by the commitment of partners both within county government as well as within the school system and associated agencies at how they share these values and they share these priorities. But it's very difficult for us to set where we want to go or indicate how we need resources associated with that without a common language or baseline understanding of what's happening. So we'll continue to build on those partnerships. And then once we've identified the metrics that we want to track that really help us understand where we are and where we're going, we'll create some visualizations of those that will be publicly available and put in place data sharing agreements as needed. I think a great example would be with the state of Maryland. You need a data sharing agreement to access WIC data, and then how we can leverage one's expertise to visualize that from a geospatial perspective, looking at it geographically, demographically, to identify trends and areas for growth, because WIC data is some of that data is captured at zip code, some of it is census tracked, some of it is by population and measured in other ways. So I think that we will use that dashboard to create a shared common language and do annual and regular reports. And hopefully, we were just talking today about creating individual reports by council districts and similarly by General Assembly districts as well, so that our elected officials will be able to see the impact of these metrics in their specific constituencies.
I appreciate that. And then as part of the two-way, so say, for example, the Up County Hub is collecting reams of information and establishing the baseline for how that information is collected and what's collected. I think the guidance will need to come from your office because you'll be in the best position to be able to share that. But be mindful of doing it in a way that's manageable, because as you all know, each of you at some point have been on the ground operationally dealing with crises after crises. It's garbage in, garbage out. And so making it as easy as possible for them to be able to input data, both quantitative and qualitative, but also give you the data that you need and vice versa, I think is going to be important. And Ms. Bresky, and I'll say this, having worked in county government for 18 years, is you may run into challenges, even with the best of intentions, sister county agencies who want to work, want to help, but something gets in the way for whatever reason. Feel free to use the council as leverage as necessary, because sometimes we're in a slightly better position as a body and truly view us as partners in this effort, not just through the funding process or to update us from a policy perspective, but operationally, I think we can meet each other halfway. Last 2 points before turning it over to colleagues. There was a disturbing article in yesterday's Washington Post about the fact that from the Capital Area Food Bank's perspective, the region as a whole has not made any progress on hunger since the pandemic, and that's of course challenging despite record levels of investment through federal dollars, which we know are going to be drying up, and record levels of state and county resources. But digging a little deeper, I'm just curious as to what you thought about that article and what your perspectives are, because they're relying on sometimes macro level data, which is important, but we don't even have a handle locally, and that's what your office will, a year from now, be in a better position to be able to report out than you are right now. So while reports like this are very real, they're very raw, they're very alarming, I don't know that they necessarily tell the complete and total and complete picture, because they can't. So I just would love your reaction. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, or your thoughts on it.
Thank you for both of those questions. I will address both of them, or briefly, separately, if that's possible. I completely agree about the need for capacity building for our food assistance partners to be able to collect and report data. And we've been working with the Montgomery County Food Council on a food assistance provider survey, which was released last week. And the goal is to have every organization that receives funding from the county government or hopes to do so in the future will take 15 to 20 minutes to respond. And a number of the questions are focused specifically on their current data collection, service data specifically, collection strategies, and their capacity as it stands and what they need to grow into that space. And it has been inconsistent at best over the many years that I've been involved in this work to expect and request service data from funded partners. And so it really does need to be embedded in contractual relationships, but also, as you said, balanced with the capacity and the scale and that the provider is operating on. And so our hope is that we will take the data that is collected in the survey and translate that into creating a data collection platform for food assistance providers that will be consistent across all those who receive grants or contracts for food security services.
We may need to build in that capacity
Yes.
as part of the contract, because it's unfair to expect the organizations to be able to absorb those costs on their own.
I agree completely. And so the hope would be that the level of data reporting that's required is scaled to whatever level of funding or types of services that they're providing. So it would not be a one-size-fits-all approach, but rather tailored to the unique skill sets that the organizations provide, and then also understanding what technical assistance is needed. And our office would also have the goal of providing that support to make sure that they have the ability to collect that and it doesn't stand in the way of there being a county partner to do that work. Once I had a food assistance provider partner share that they were unable to report their data, and they were very committed to that work, but very tragically, their volunteer who collected and reported the data had passed away. And so that meant that their organization was unable to continue doing that work, and they wanted to remain in compliance, but their capacity was not there. And so I think we will keep that at the front of our minds. And there are also a series of listening sessions that are happening with food assistance providers in partnership with the Food Council right now to hear from them on what their needs are, so that they are active partners in crafting whatever process comes next. Related to the Capital Area Food Bank's report, I did read it. I followed these reports as they come out annually for many years. I think what's important to remember is that it is, and I'm not a statistics major, so but
volunteers move from one organization to another, which happens. It's so routine because it is standardized. It's not finding new ways to do things. It's creating a space for everyone to work more collaboratively together. That may be helpful. I wanted to ask about the, what is it? Where am I going? I wrote a lot of things on my paper. How many healthy food priority areas do we have in the county, and are they geographically concentrated or geographically dispersed?
So that is a very good question, and that is why we have hired someone dedicated with the ability to visualize data, map data. And I will share that the terminology and the definitions as driven by the federal government have shifted over time. And so that is something that is on our list to explore, but more importantly, to create local level definitions of food security, because that is something that is very difficult to rely on. Feeding America for most of it, and their numbers are valuable overall, especially in comparison to neighboring jurisdictions. But most of the data that we have is based on generalized census data, which is averaged over 5 years. It takes
Right.
a very long time to show the impact of a 6-month program in census data like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah.
so I don't have a specific number, but I can tell you that that's something that we're looking into in terms of healthy food priority areas. But I can tell you that food insecurity exists in every single pocket of our community, and I think that that is, we have a lot of delicate balances in our
Right.
work. So to get
Right.
to your earlier question about data, I think we have to ensure that we're balancing stewarding public dollars effectively and efficiently, recognizing they need to stretch as far as they can, and that we need that data to understand the impact of the funds that we're investing, and also the trends that are emerging. But we also need to allow our food assistance providers to do what they do best.
Right.
And so how do we have enough information to be able to steward this work effectively, but how do we not overburden our partners?
Right.
And similarly, with understanding where food insecurity exists in our community, we need to balance investing in communities that have higher rates of food insecurity, which really is disproportionality of
Right.
income and income insufficiency.
Right.
But we also have to still invest in the communities with lower on average rates, but probably fewer resources per capita
Right.
than there would be in higher concentration communities.
Yeah, I raise that just because I know it's hard for people to imagine, especially where we have an agricultural reserve in our county, that some of our more rural areas are actually those where there aren't grocery stores and things of that nature, where, if it's not your business, but you live in that area, well, what do? You're not growing your own food, and you don't have easy access to either programs or transit to get you elsewhere to get to the stores. So, and the other thing I was going to ask about was, there was a change where the different benefits programs like WIC and SNAP, et cetera, were able to be received not just by farmers markets but also by farm stands. Do you know how that's working here in the county, and whether that's increased access, if you will?
Yes, so I can tell you that that was a state level change that was in large part motivated by advocacy from Montgomery County, specifically farms in Montgomery County that were committed to supporting residents who did not have the financial means to shop at their on-farm markets, but wanted access to local nutritious product just like every other resident would. And so we had farms that were accepting these benefits that were intended for use at farmers markets, even though they weren't actually allowed to cash them in because they were so committed to the success of this program. So there was a change in the state of Maryland's partnership agreement with the USDA to allow the farmers market nutrition program vouchers to be used at on-farm markets as well as farmers markets. And so we were thrilled with that shift, and we have seen the impact of the county's investment in the Maryland Market Money program in redemption rates at on-farm markets. So what this program does is it basically takes a pot of money and it's administered through the Southern Maryland Agricultural Development Corporation, SMATIC, and they have a partnership with the county to work with farmers markets and on-farm markets to double SNAP dollars at these sites. And it has been one of our highest redemption sites is an on-farm market. So happy to get you specific numbers if that's of interest,
Yeah.
but I think it is something to celebrate.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then in terms of the resiliency planning, what is our county's role or level of collaboration with neighboring counties like Howard and Frederick and Prince George's?
So I would say the best example of what is happening regionally is that the DC Emergency Management Department actually convened a food and water task force, and I had the opportunity to be a part of that through my role on the Food Council. So I think it was called the Technical Advisory Committee, and they put together a food and water emergency action report, which obviously was based on DC, but provided important guidance for all neighboring jurisdictions, because ultimately there needs to be regional coordination. And we're in an interesting spot in Montgomery County where we need to both participate in regional coordination as well as statewide coordination. And so I as Catherine had mentioned, I also co-chair the state's Food Systems Resilience Council, which is under the umbrella of emergency management. And so that body is bringing together experts from state government as well as from around the state to mobilize emergency planning and preparedness and connect that with the resources that MDEM has to make sure that we're looking at food specifically, but also holistically as a component of other needs during a crisis.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sales.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to start by thanking you, Heather, and your new team, and my chairman for having the vision to use the lessons that we learned throughout the pandemic to come up with this effort to address food insecurity and the ultimate end childhood hunger, which I'm so excited about. So not too many questions, but just wanted to highlight some of the information that you shared, given the mapping component. I think that's going to be so important, and I love that you are breaking it down not just by district, county district, but by legislative district. It'll hold us more accountable throughout the county and at the state level, and I think it'll be important to see how those resources will be mapped out throughout the county. I think that's so key for our residents to see and for us as government leaders as well. And then I also I was going to ask about, given that we are in the midst of a climate emergency, and I'm really glad that you anticipated that question. Where will our food system be given the climate challenges that exist now, the climate recommendations that were outlined in our action plan? And I know that we'll probably get more information as you collect the baseline data, but you mentioned the food recovered, organics in waste stream, recycled, local sourcing, and so I look forward to learning more about those efforts and how we can help prepare for those, not just with HHS, but in collaboration with our T&E committee and other committees as well. So I look forward to those conversations. And also, one of the core values of the OFSR is focusing on equity. And that's so important when you talk about food insecurity, who has access and who doesn't, as Councilmember Lutke mentioned. And just wanted to see if you can expand how you've been doing this and how this will be incorporated into the work that we will see more updates from in the future.
Thank you so much for those thoughtful questions. Speaking first to the climate intersections with our work, we work very closely with DEP in a variety of aspects, everything from expanding edible food recovery, which of course reduces the amount of organics in the waste stream, but also increases the amount of food that's available to support our community, all the way through to, if the food is not recoverable, how can we recycle those nutrients and capture that energy to grow more food? And a lot of that work, that policy work, happens in intersection with the state in particular, because a lot of things like expanding opportunities to compost food scraps on farm is really regulated at the state level. And so working with our partners in Annapolis to expand opportunities for local businesses to be able to participate in that work a little bit more actively. But I think that those are partnerships where we, in a lot of ways, will support the leadership of our fellow agencies, and then also pursue our own priorities, where to fill the gaps, where we see that there are opportunities, in particular how we as a county government can model the behavior that we hope to see in the private sector, because I think there are a lot of barriers to implementing policies, and it's important for us to be able to figure out how to solve those problems in our own work so that we can encourage others to do the same. Related to equity, I think one of the greatest things about our work is that we are co-located with the Office of Grants Management and the Office of Racial Equity and Social Justice on the 6th floor of the EOB. And so we literally work very closely with them and have the opportunity to engage with their teams who participated in the search processes for our team. And I call attention regularly to the RIAs, the Racial Equity Impact Assessments that the RESJ team has done on food security funding strategies to date by the county government, because I think it's really important to underscore that making sure that everyone is fed is an immediate issue to address, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle in any way related to building equity in our food system. And so there are certainly lower hanging fruit to approach in terms of the cultural preferences and choice in food security models, but ultimately moving towards food sovereignty and supporting our residents is how we will truly achieve greater equity in food security and in our food system more holistically. Someone shared with me recently the updated information on the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, which is administered annually, and there are a number of food security screening questions that were recently embedded in that. And it underscores how the racial disparities in food access and food insecurity incidences among high school students is actually growing. And so in earlier survey reports had been 5 to 6 times more likely for Black and Brown students to be experiencing food insecurity. It now looks more like 7 to 10 times more common. And so I think these are part of the reasons why it's critically important to follow the data and to understand how this is not a challenge that is experienced equally among our residents, and that needs to be centered in all of the investments and the strategies that we pursue.
Thank you. And you.
Great. This has been a great session. We look forward to the follow-up, as we go through the 14-point plan to end childhood hunger, which is infinitely achievable, especially with your all's leadership. It's very exciting. And I'll end on a very high note. This morning I had the opportunity to attend an event at Silver Diner along with our former colleague, Councilmember Craig Rice, because tomorrow is the enactment and the first day that the Healthy Meals program goes into effect, whereby restaurants that have a children's menu are required to have at least one healthy option within that menu. It's a very common sense approach to ensuring that we have equity across our entire community and that families and children have healthy options. And Silver Diner was the perfect backdrop because they started doing this 10 years ago on their own as an economic business development plan, because they did their own analysis to find out what the kids wanted. They literally had groups of kids come and do taste tests. And what they found, to their surprise, was what the kids wanted most of was more strawberries and less French fries. They wanted more fruit and less of the chicken tenders. And I think that's great. And so I have tremendous confidence in you, Ms. Bruskin, and your team, and we are here to support you every step of the way. And we look forward to receiving updates, not just formally, but also in between as well. With that, Ms. Clemens-Johnson, was there anything else you wanted to add? Okay, great. With that, we are adjourned. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Thank you.